All right. Welcome to the Pure Conversation podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Miller. This week's guest is veteran and CEO of Amazing At Home E-commerce Consulting, Amy Weiss. From advising to coaching to brand development to even getting your product out there on the e-commerce platforms. If it's anything to do with e-com, Amazing At Home Consulting seems to have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell me, how did you first get involved at all in the Amazon space? It seems like your website just and everything you speak about, you're involved in literally every single intricate detail. So how did you get to that?
I started selling on Amazon in 2007. I was just like flipping my textbooks while I was in college, and I was in the Air Force at the time. And going to college, and I saw this little button on Amazon. I was looking for textbooks, used textbooks, and I saw this little button on Amazon that said "Sell yours here," and I was like, okay. So not only can I buy my textbooks here, I can sell my textbooks. So I started selling textbooks and just whatever. It was a hobby back then. It was just something fun. I was selling whatever I could put my hands on in my house, old stuff I didn't need anymore. Back then, like, you could put anything on Amazon and it would sell. And then in 2017, I came up with an idea for a brand new, never seen before product, a better way to clean the cat litter box of all things. Yes, I deal in cat poop, but but yeah, I solved that problem, and I really wanted a way to bring it to market, and I knew I could sell it on Amazon. But I also knew that I had to learn private label, and I had to not only learn private label, but how to like invent something, how to patent something, how to develop something, how to find a manufacturer, and how to do all of that. And so I learned, and then I shared everything that I learned, because I figured there were other people out there that wanted to learn too. And that's how Amazing at Home was born. Our community really is just about helping people start and build brands.
So, well, you make it sound very simple when you put it like that, but I imagine it was a little more complicated than just that. So how did you, when you picked the product, how did that you turn that into, you invented the product. How did you get that out there? How did you get people to get to find first, even if it's the most amazing product, how do you get anybody to find you, and how did you then transfer that into a program?
Well, it's an interesting story. In my goal to kind of learn more about private label, I also realized that there were a bunch of other new Amazon business models that I didn't know anything about. And so while I was developing my product, I started doing retail arbitrage. I had a friend that was doing retail arbitrage, and that's where, you go to like retail stores and you buy products and you flip them on Amazon, right? And in other retail channels as well, but we mostly were focused on Amazon. So we started doing that, and we found these cups. I'll never forget. We found these cups at Walmart, and these cups, we paid $3 and like 40 cents for them at Walmart, and they would sell for $11 on Amazon, and without any PPC or anything, because they were from a major brand. And we would source enough of those cups from local Walmarts. And I'm in San Antonio, Texas. We would source enough of those cups to pay for our Amazon fees every month. And so we started doing that. We made a lot of mistakes. Like we bought a lot of stuff that was like that we couldn't sell, or that just wasn't profitable. And so we would take it back to the store. But we made a lot of mistakes in the beginning just to learn, and then we started doing wholesale because I was tired of sourcing at Walmart. So I was like, okay, I need a better way to source more of something. I need bigger quantities. So I started opening up wholesale accounts with different brands and different bigger wholesalers. And I started building bundles, and I started making listings. And I'm a big nerd, right? So I was in cybersecurity. I have a master's degree, master of science in cybersecurity, and an MBA. So I'm was quite good in my career at the time, and so I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I like to really figure things out. So I started taking these bundles, these wholesale bundles, and I would hire someone on Fiverr to write my listings. And then I started to realize, okay, wait a minute, I can do a much better job at this. and I can figure out these keywords and everything. And I started networking with others and learning a lot more about keywords. And I figured out if you knew how to write a listing and you knew how to do SEO, you could sell ice to an Eskimo online. Like, it was really easy, right? So I started selling my services, writing listings on Fiverr. And I just, I'm really good at writing sales copy. I used to sell like Mary Kay products and stuff like that for fun. So I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at, the whole sales copy thing. I enjoy it. It's fun. And so I started doing these Fiverr gigs, right? And people would hire me on Fiverr, and they'd have super saturated, like terrible products, private labels. And I would just find new keywords for these products. So like one guy had a felt letterboard. And at the time, these things were saturated. Like, there were pages and pages and pages of them. And his differentiation was that his was pink. Like, the background on his was pink. And I was like, dude, nobody's searching for a pink letterboard. Like, this is not, going to work. So I was like, all right, give me time. So I start searching other keywords, other things that this letterboard could be used for. So I was like, okay, office sign, receptionist sign, like holiday party sign, that kind of thing, like wedding reception sign. I started looking for keywords that had decent search volume, that had opportunity for a product like this, and rewrote the listing under totally new keywords, and he sold out. And so I started doing this with so many listings. And I started talking about it online. I'd be like, hey, if you have a saturated product, this is all you have to do. And I just started teaching it, and people started asking me to consult with them. And I was like, well, I don't do that. I don't teach people how to do stuff, okay. And so finally, I just was like, all right, enough people asked where I was like, all right, fine, $50, whatever, let's meet on Google Hangouts and we'll figure it out, right? So I started meeting with people, and people started having really big success. And before I knew it, they were telling other people, and they're like, you got to go work with Amy, man. She's turning things around for us. And so I had no idea. Here I was on my own journey, just like trying to get my own products out there, trying to start my own private label. I was sourcing a few products from China, at the same time developing my invented product, because I didn't just want to be like a one product brand, right? And so I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm sharing, and then people are asking to consult with me. Plus I'm working a full-time job, like a very high profile job, right? And before I knew it, I literally would get home from work at like 5 o'clock at night, and I would be on calls at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I would get up in the morning, do it all over again. Before I knew it, I was on calls all weekend on lunch hours. I was like, geez, this is crazy. And I finally realized, wow, I need to like quit my job and do this, because I couldn't even, I was helping so many people, and they were having great success. I wasn't doing any marketing or anything. It was just like insanity. And I was enjoying myself. I like this stuff. I actually like helping people and helping them turn things around and figure things out. And I was a war planner in the military, so I'm really good at taking like huge objectives and turning it into like step-by-step stuff. And so I was just like, you know what? I really like this. I'm enjoying it. And I'm still going to bring my product to market and share along the way, so I continue to do that. We brought my husband home from work first, and we didn't pay him, because in the beginning, when you're starting private label, you like reinvest everything back into your inventory. And we had so many mistakes that we had to learn from. And so we're figuring everything out. We're helping people along the way, and so we started Amazing at Home actually underneath the umbrella of our private label, because I was just like, oh yeah, we'll just take some calls, we'll do some things. And I had no idea that it would turn into what it is today. But long story short, in 2018, I quit my job, my 6-figure, high-paying, high-profile job in cybersecurity, to come home and start really grow my consulting firm, and also grow my private label. And that's what happened. And here we are in 2021, and we were just voted, third in the world for courses and for consulting.
Wow. Congratulations.
And I'm just like, I'm blown away. I'm like, who are these people voting for me? I don't even know, but it's been a wild ride, and it's a lot of fun. So that's kind of how we got started.
That's really an incredible story of an accidental business that just blew up. One of the reoccurring themes that it seems you keep mentioning is it's not about putting yourself out there. And I mean this both in two different areas you mentioned it. One in the product itself, and two in how you built your business. It's not so much about um, you know, uh, necessarily what you're selling or what you're doing. It's getting people to you, meaning just bringing people, meaning there are people who spend, a significant amount in marketing, but it sounds like not that you don't necessarily, but that isn't your key, your big feature. That isn't what brought people to you. That's not people what, got your product sold. So taking first specifically in regarding to, a product on Amazon. So is that really the key? It's not necessarily about like not to say that it can't be about quality of product or it shouldn't be a quality product, but it's not necessarily about quality. It's really about just hitting the engine. Is that really what people should think?
What it's about, and we've learned this now. I mean, I can literally scroll through Amazon in every category and see brands that I've had a direct involvement with helping them launch or writing their listing for them. I've written hundreds of listings now. We also have product photography. So we've done tons of brands. We help tons of brands do launches. And the thing is, it's about getting in front of the right buyer, right? Nearly everybody who's on Amazon is at the bottom of the funnel. That means they're ready to buy. They go to Amazon to buy stuff. So it's about getting in front of them for their behavior on Amazon, right? So like the guy with the felt letterboard that I put in office signs and I was able to get him to sell there, right? If that customer was typing in felt letterboard, well, they're going to see 10, 20 pages, right? And most likely they're going to buy from whatever's on page 1 or page 2, right? Maybe some creative marketing inside of a product page. But what allowed this guy to sell this saturated product under office signs was that there wasn't anything like that. And his product actually made a really good office sign, right? So it's about a combination of opportunity and getting in front of the right buyer. Like everyone always says, you have to be on page 1. You have to be on page 1. Well, if you're in a saturated category, you might not be able to get on page 1. And so you might have to go off of Amazon and do some advertising there, right? Get in front of an audience on TikTok or something, or whatever, you do Google ads. That's a good one. They're also bottom of funnel ads, but the bottom line is you got to get in front of your buyer. So for me, even though I invented a litter box cleaner, and there wasn't one before I invented one, I still had the keyword litter box, right? So people search via keywords. So you just have to know what keyword it is that you need to be on page 1 for, that you need to be in front of your buyers. And you can either purchase a spot on that page 1 through an ad, or you can organically place through a really optimized organic listing, right? So that's really your goal, is putting your offer in front of the buyer. And then when the buyer gets to your offer, they need to be able to answer the question, is this for me? Right? If you don't have in your photos or in your offer, if you're not really showing them why they should buy yours instead of the competition, even with me, like, yes, my product is the only thing in its category per se, but people have reasonable alternatives that they can buy. They can buy a litter box and a scoop. I mean, that doesn't sound like fun to me, but they can buy it. That's a reasonable alternative. So I have competition. Everybody out there, whether they have a unique product or a completely saturated product, has competition. And buying is an emotional experience. And you talked about, was it your ability to bring people to you? I have not even one paid ad, not one paid ad for Amazing at Home. It's all word of mouth. Wow. And even with my pet product, people spread, of course we run paid ads for our pet products, but people spread the word. They tell other people about it because it's a really good product and it solves a problem for them, right? But being able to tap into that, when somebody visits my product page, being able to tap into their pain points, being able to tap into their needs, and really communicate that through photos and then through the right copywriting is so important. So yes, you can pay for clicks. You can buy your spot at the top of the page. You got to have the right page though, where buyers are going to be. But then when they get to that listing, when they click on your offer, are they going to buy? And that's the secret right there. If you want to sell a lot of products, you got to get in front of your buyer and you got to convert them. And that's really the secret. If you can do those two things, you're going to win every time.
Very interesting. Not a day goes by in LinkedIn, and I mean this without exaggeration. Not a day goes by where I get a message from somebody that says, I see you're an Amazon seller. I would love to share with you my services in marketing and SEO. I could take a look at your thing. Fill in the blank. And while it's besides it being rather annoying, it's clear to me just by the sheer amount, and I can say it's been many months of this on the daily. It seems like this is such a significant, besides having sold myself, just the fact that there's such a large market on the side of people who are just involved in SEO, in market funnels. It's incredible to me how large of how much of a great need there is for that. So the question would then be, with all these services, and I'm sure I don't want to necessarily criticize any of them. I'm sure they're all fine. How does an individual go about, finding out how to create their proper listing? Should they be going to all these people, reaching out to them on LinkedIn? Should they be using some of these many tools? Every day, there's another tool. Jungle Scout. I just had Smart Scout. Scott Needham was just on the podcast. Keep, etc. There are dozens and dozens of projects, and every day I see. Or does someone sit there and say, you know what? They Google, or they go on Amazon and they type in the product they want or the product that they want to put up, and then just read through, the main listings. What strategies are there for somebody in that position?
Well, first of all, I completely understand what you mean about getting the constant messages on LinkedIn. So what I do on LinkedIn, my little hack for LinkedIn is,
Honestly, this is more important than anything else you're saying.
Yes, here's your hack, right? Here's how you get rid of them. So when they send you that message, it says that they're an expert and they're awesome, and they can help you. Well, what I always tell them, and I judge them by this, and I tell them that I'm going to judge them by this. Mm-hmm. I say, oh, that's really great. I judge you based on your website because that is your 24/7 sales page. So send me your website. Mm-hmm. And I'll judge you based on that, and I'll let you know if I need your help. Thanks.
And how many responses have you received?
0. Works great. Now, I have received a few where they actually did send me their website, and kudos to you. You get wins for me. You get snaps all around.
But did you use them?
No, I didn't, but I've helped a few of them. I've given a few of them some really great tips for improving their sales flow and stuff. But because I have clients that are also service-based businesses, I've trained agencies and helped them with that too. So yeah, it's, and I'm not perfect either. Like my website needed an overhaul too. We did this huge, massive research project anyway, the bottom line is there's a ton of information out there. And if you try to listen to every bit of information, you're going to get completely overloaded. And I know because the folks in my mastermind group, they feel this all the time. They're like, Amy, there's so much information. Like, what do I listen to? And that's why we plan. That's in my mastermind group. That's something big that we do. Every month we plan. At the end of the month, we plan for the next month. And I say, if it's not on that goal chart, it's okay to listen to it, but put it in the back of the brain. The human brain is amazing, but don't focus on it. If it's not on your goals for that month, for that week, why? It's just a distraction, right? So the bottom line is, you have to remember that people have been trading goods and services since the caveman days, right? People have needs and wants, and you have an offer for them. So that's really it. Like whatever platform you're on, whether it's Walmart, Amazon, whether it's on the shelf of a store, you need to have a good juicy offer and you need to get in front of the right buyer. So, that's the bottom line. And on Amazon, that means keywords. That means knowing what you want to be on page one for and optimizing for that. So what you said, Joseph, about like going on that page one, and that's actually how we start. We have a listing optimization masterclass. And the first class is actually all about your unique sales proposition, your USP, right? We define that before we do anything else, because that defines where your buyer lies, right? So even if I'm selling this boring water bottle and there's a million other people selling it, I can define what's important to the buyer, not features, benefits. And I can describe it better than my competitors. So I can go, okay, people who are buying a cup like this, it's important that it has a straw. It's important that that straw is easy to clean. It's important that this cap is airtight, right? And it's important that this thing keeps this double-walled insulated drink holder here, keeps their drink cold. That's important to them, or their coffee hot. And so what I do is I design my photos and design my copy in a way that after I get on page one, whether I'm paying for an ad or whatever for double-walled coffee cup with straw, right? Whatever. After I get on page one for that, I'm going to convert. And so what I do is I create doubt in the customer's mind about every other product, because my photos don't just say, ooh, double-walled stainless steel, thing here, right? Cup. Mine don't say that. Mine say, this is specially designed to keep your drink colder longer, right? It's special. It is the airtight seal preserves the flavor. When they see my photos of my cup that I'm selling, it's going to create doubt in their mind. They're going to go, wait, I don't remember seeing that on that other one. Okay, wait, but I need my drink to be colder for longer. And this one's special. This one's for me, so you really, it's not hard. It's not hard to get on page one for whatever keyword. We all know how to do that. We can run a PPC ad, right? We can target that keyword. We can do broad phrase and exact match if we really want to cover our territory, right? We do a video ad for that page. It's not hard to pay for an ad. What's hard is to get a conversion. So that's why you really have to study the customer's need and their wants. I have a free listings review service where you can submit your listing to me and I'll review it. And it's actually me sending you a video of me sharing my screen, looking at your listing and just breaking it down, right? And I was looking at one today and it was for a chore chart. It was a calendar chore chart, and great price. Good product, but I could not tell this person why I should buy theirs and not the 30 pages below them in the listing. I just couldn't. And then I scrolled down and I looked at their EBC, and in their EBC, or A+ content, or whatever Amazon's deciding to call it right now, in there is they had this whole thing in there about how theirs was smudge proof and how there was all these uses for it. You could use it for a workout calendar, how it was so multi-purpose. And I was like, why aren't you playing that in your photos? Why aren't you playing on that? Get me to buy 4 of them. I need one in every room of my damn house because this thing is so awesome, right? Sell that to me. But there was nothing. And it was just the same photos as everybody else. So then all you're doing is competing on price and reviews. And you're paying for clicks that aren't necessarily going to convert, right? And then, when you're competing on price, you're like, oh man, do I need to run a coupon? Do I need to do a 2-pack? What do I do? And it's all about that communication with that buyer. And so that's what I told this person when I was reviewing their listing. I said, look, I'm a mom, my kids are on a schedule. If you were to tap into that need of mine, how easy this is going to be to implement and how I can use it not only for their chores, but for their school schedule, for everything. And I'm going to buy 4 of them from you. and you're going to show me how it's smudge proof and easy to erase, and you're actually going to show me that in the photos, I'm going to buy 4 of them from you. And sure enough, I clicked on a bunch of the other listings that were selling short charts, and they're all the same. They're all like, it's like people copy each other's photos. Why? Why do you copy other people's photos? Get to know the customer and sell to them. And you will win every time, because I have the Jerry Maguire picture in all my like external traffic training and my PPC training and my mastermind group. It's like, what's my number 1 rule, you guys? And they're like, show me the money. Because that's my number 1 rule. Like, don't pay for clicks that aren't going to convert, right? Yes, you're occasionally going to get curious clicks that aren't going to convert. I get it. We got to get data first. But the bottom line is, when we dig into that keyword where that customer is there and ready to buy, if we communicate to their needs, we're going to convert. And that's, as long as we have a good offer, as long as our price is good, and, they see the value and we connect with them, they're going to convert. So that's really it. Like, you got to use the right keywords, but you guys already know how to do that. You know how to use tools. Like in my listing optimization masterclass, I use like 12 different tools just to show people, like, literally, you could use any tool you want. It's the same formula. It works every time. And people, if they just change out their photos using our 7 photo strategy, we use a 7 photo strategy that like taps into the customer mindset and the sales cycle, right? And people it's like magic, like, because we draft the listing first, and then we design the photos based off the drafted listing. And then we add the SEO keywords in, and then we upload the listing, right? And people, while they're going through the masterclass, they'll change out their photos based on the 7 photo strategy, and they haven't done anything with their listing. On average, we have 30% plus increase in conversions.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what it is. When customers shop, they're already in front of the customer. They just weren't converting them before.
It's very interesting you say that. I had someone on the podcast a while ago, and he is a food manufacturer, and he deals with private label food brands. And one of the questions I asked to him was, food is incredibly saturated. If you look up even on Amazon or anything, Power Bar, there are so many niches that each bar, is going after, that, like, you in every possible subcategory, there's 100. So I said, how is it that you're bringing people, that you're helping them get onto e-commerce? How is it that there's still room for so many new brands? If at this point, like, on Amazon, there's like the main category, and there's a subcategory. Like you're like 8 categories in, and like you're competing with like 1,000 other people. So how is it that there's still room? And he told me something very similar to you. He said, address a specific problem. Say, we are going to be, the way he said, or the issue he said is keto. I still haven't figured out what it is. Supposedly it has something to do with dieting. I see it a lot in my spam box, but whatever keto may be. He told me that, what we do is we take specifically keto, and we target keto, and that every person who's looking for keto knows who we are, and that when they click on our listing, it doesn't matter that we're a Power Bar, and it'll do the same, like any guy who's tired, or any person who just needs, like, an extra, a higher protein diet. Like, okay, this is fine for them. It's the same as literally every other Power Bar. But he said, if we just attack this one point, keto, then you know what? We're going to be able to compete with this crazy saturated market.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just talking about on Amazon. He was talking about in in retail stores. You walk into any CVS or even any supermarket. There are thousands of snack bars, power bars, on top of each other. So, how do you choose? So he says, in big bold letters, keto. Just, that's the only thing people need to know about our brand. So it's very interesting you say that's the same thing with e-commerce.
Yeah. And it's anywhere across the board. I have a good friend, Zara Cruzan. She's the brand author, and she gives a very similar case study. She was working with a Power Bar brand, right? Mm-hmm. And they were targeting women, but this brand was full of like really kind of nutrient dense, high caloric foods. Well, women, we look at that and we're like, ooh, that's too many calories. Like, I got like 600 calories I can eat today. That's not going to work for me, right? And so what she did is she really dug into the market for this particular, like, who needs this, right? And she looked and she saw that like guys that are doing like heavy lifting that need that extra, power without all the bad carbs, right? So she completely changed the branding, changed the coloring on the packaging, everything, and started targeting guys who power lift. Turn the brand around, went from like nothing, like could barely make 5 figures, to $1 million brand in a year, just by targeting one single market that actually you're actually meeting their needs, right? With that. So yeah, 100%.
Uh, wow, yeah, very interesting. Was also happens have been power bars, but one of the more interesting things that you keep coming back to is that while you do definitely have mentioned that it's important to use tools, you're not saying to use tools in the same way everyone else is. Most being an Amazon seller, you end up meeting a lot of other Amazon sellers. It's just how it works. Um,
Yeah.
Once you start telling people you're an Amazon seller, so someone says, "Oh, my cousin's now, you got to meet him," and suddenly like everybody you start meeting. But the one thing that's very interesting, and I find I hear from a lot of other people in the say the podcast, YouTube, whatever the Amazon the Amazon social circles on the web, is that the important things is using tools. Having the right tools is what's most important. But what you're saying is actually very different. You're saying not that tools aren't important, but your business should be one where you can present yourself. Tools might be a great way to figuring out how you need to present yourself, but presentation is more important than any other tool that you may need to buy or create.
Absolutely. 100%. And there's always going to be a tool, there's always going to be a tool, but it's being able to make that conversion. And if you think about it, whether you're in the conceptual stage of your business or you're in launch or you're thinking of a new product, knowing that single factor, that who am I going to sell this to, and is it going to be a good offer for them, knowing that is going to carry you through, because you're going to be able to ensure that you're profitable, right? Because I can't tell you how many people have come to me with a product and they're like, I have one of my most popular coaching calls is people coming to me with their product ideas and saying, is it good, Amy? Will you approve it? Can I move forward with this product? Right. And we do all the things, right? Like we really dig into the customer market and we look at the competition, we look at the numbers, but the bottom line is I look at it and go, okay, is there any reason that that a customer is going to buy this and not something else? But the other thing that a lot of people do is they pay way too much from their manufacturer. And then they hope that they can sell a product for a lot more. Because they're like, okay, I paid like $21 for it. I'm hoping I can sell it for like 60 maybe. And I look at the market, you look on page 1 and you're like, yeah, most of them are selling for like 29 to 31. Well, I'm going to do high end. I'm going to do high end. Do people want high end? Are they going to pay more for? They're not going to pay more. Like we can literally look and use tools and look on page 1. DS Amazon Quick View is one of my favorite tools because it just shows the ranks right on the page when you're searching, and coming from the retail arbitrage side of things, you learn how to read BSR. Like you can go into any category, you just become like a BSR expert. You're like, okay, there's over a million products in that category. BSR is 10,000. Okay, they're selling about 5 a day. I got it. Good, go. Like you just know, like it's amazing. You can learn so much from resellers. But yeah, so that's the thing. If I look on page 1, and the ones that are selling well are the low price products, you're not going to come to market with a high end and do better in most categories on Amazon, unless you're building a brand off of Amazon. And then Amazon's just a convenience channel for you. But that's not the case for most people, right? So I think it's just so important that you remember that through every phase of your business, whether you're sourcing something, you have to be profitable. It has to be scalable, meaning you have to have a good offer that you can actually scale, and you have to be profitable so that you can scale and reinvest into that inventory and keep going. And the two of the biggest problems that I see people get into is no sales. Like literally, if I search my inbox for the keyword no sales, it's like pages. Like it's so sad, because people think, well, this is a hot product. I'm just going to throw it out there and it's going to be great, And unfortunately, that's what a lot of the old courses teach, because that used to be the thing. Like you could put anything on Amazon and it would sell. But it's just not that way anymore. You really do need to have a good offer. You need to have good branding. You need to, make sure that it's compelling for the customer, and you have to have a good price. Yes, you can get away with high end stuff sometimes in some categories, but yeah, it's if you just remember that you need to know the customer. I can't tell you, Joseph, how many people have come to me for launch, because I go over product launches with people. And my launch strategy is we do Amazon PPC, of course. We do an incredibly optimized listing, including all the conversion stuff that we talked about with the photos and everything like that. But then we also choose 3 forms of external traffic, because external traffic will rank your product 3-to-1 over on Amazon PPC. A lot of people don't know that. I've met 8-figure sellers that have never run external traffic outside of like chatbots, right? Mm-hmm. Which chatbots are external traffic, but it's not consistent bottom of funnel traffic, right? And people just look at me like, you want me to do what? You want me to choose 3 forms of external traffic? And I'm like, well, where does your customer hang out? They have no clue, because they didn't study the customer. They only studied the product and bad reviews on product research software. And that's such a, you got to know why people buy this and why they care about it and what their pain points are. And if you know that, like you win every time. I can look at any product and tell you, then go study the customer and tell you if it's going to be a winner or not, because I can tell you whether you're meeting a need or whether it's that you don't have a better offer.
Very interesting. One of the other things that I was thinking about was that very often, people come into Amazon either involved in a certain industry that they're trying to either get onto Amazon or sell on Amazon, or they begin to private label. They begin to understand different arbitrage tools. Maybe they'll understand marketing, and they'll gain these e-commerce tools. And then they'll say, you know what, now it's time for me to, start my own brand. And now I have to speak to a manufacturer and everyone in between to get that product to Amazon. And usually those said marketing skills, SEO skills don't necessarily translate to, to buying freight loads. So how do you, or what have you found is a successful way to transfer those skills, or at least develop the new skills that one should use to continue on to expand to these new areas?
I love that you brought up this question, because, I'm just going to be real with you. I had learned these things too. It wasn't like I was an expert at manufacturing before, or I knew how to talk to. These are things that you keep learning and you learn over time, and now I'm very comfortable with it. And, I sit on negotiation calls with my clients, with their suppliers now, on a regular basis. And the one thing that they take away from my calls with their suppliers is that it's just a conversation. You're trying to build a relationship, and that's what it's all about. If you go into it very cold and very one-sided, like, okay, manufacturer, work for me. And, what can you do for me? Can you just make this? And you're kind of blind to it, right? If you just go to the manufacturer and you're like, okay, I want to make this. Can you make this? Like, how much is it? Right? It's not a store, it's a manufacturer, and they're going to be making something for you, and they're not going to take you seriously if you don't know your manufacturing process. So the advice that I would give you is to really learn about product development, because, in order for us to kind of stick out, we need to be at least differentiated. And of course we can find a differentiated product sometimes we can get lucky and find like that really cool product that just isn't being sold in our market. And I love those kinds of products. Like, totally jump on that while you can, while it lasts. But the best bet for you when you're building your own brand is for you to differentiate something. And in order for you to differentiate in a way that matters to the customer, you're going to need to learn product development, because how can you differentiate if you don't know how to develop a product? You're just going to kind of run away from it. You're going to be like, well, I don't know how to add a handle to this. I don't even know how to talk to a manufacturer about that. So it's important to understand about your manufacturing process. So let's say that I wanted to sell a new kind of, let's say I wanted to add lights to this water bottle. I did the study and I see that, women, they're walking to their cars at night, and it would be really helpful for them to have lights in their cup so that they could see their way to their car, and it's very safe, right? Whatever, I don't know, but
It's a very simple
throwing that out
product.
there, right? I don't know how well you guys will do with that, but you go for it. Anyway, I need to know, I need to think through this. Number one, the customer experience. Where will the lights go in this? What kind of lights am I going to use? Are they LEDs? Are they battery operated? Oh man, do I need batteries? Like, okay, how will it be washed? How will we wash this cup if we're adding lights, right? Does it need to be waterproof? Does another product already exist that has some kind of light up in the water bottle? And should I be looking at that? The answer to all those questions is yes, 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 and yes, right? Because you want to know, you want to be able, the way that we start this idea is we call it DIY prototyping in our program. And the idea is, okay, I'm trying to develop this thing. Like one example I give is I wanted to develop a gym bag because I'm a CrossFitter, so I do like weightlifting every day, and I just feel powerful when I can lift 100 pounds from the ground over my head. And, anyway, and the first rule of CrossFit, by the way, is that you have to talk about CrossFit. Yeah. So I got to put that in the podcast, but, but anyway, I was
know you saw me
developing.
smirking when you brought it up, but that's what I was thinking when you said it.
You know it, yes. But yeah, so I was trying to develop a sports bag, right? Well, I'm not a seamstress. I don't know how to sew, So how do I prototype this? Well, yeah, I could go to a seamstress and I could be like, yeah, sew me up something, but I'm not going to know what to tell her. It's just like if I were to go to a manufacturer, right? That manufacturer is going to need things from me. They're going to need a pattern. They're going to need to know dimensions. They're going to need to know where to put the pockets and the zippers. So my husband and I, we were like, okay, we need to put the shoes like over here in the bag. And we wanted to have like a removable section where you could like take it into the rig with you, like where you could lift with like your little pieces, but then everything else stayed back at your bag. So we were like designing all these little pieces and parts of this thing. And so first we start by sketching it out. And then we actually just took some cardboard, like some card stock, like the big pieces of poster board, and some tape. And we literally sat there on the floor in our house and like started taping this thing together. And we're like, okay, how big does this pocket need to be for the shoes? Right? Like, let's put a panel here. Like, let's actually take a pair of shoes and fit it in there. Then we're like, ooh, that's not going to work for the wet clothes part. Like, that's okay. So you get the idea, right? No matter what it is, even if you have to take bubble gum and tape and a straw, it doesn't matter. Like, visualize that thing, right? The same thing I had to do with my litter box cleaner. I literally went to Home Depot in the morning, got some hardware cloth, like some wood. I was trying to be all secretive with the poor old man at Home Depot because I didn't know back then that, nobody's going to steal your idea. They don't have any idea how to bring a product to market. Neither did I. So, I'm in there just I built it like with a wooden frame and some handles and like put it inside of a trash bin. And anyway, the bottom line is I want you guys to try and visualize your product as best as possible. A lot of times people will come to me with ideas for plastic products that are made out of plastic, products that have electronics in them, and that's cool. But then I tell them like, okay, build it out of wood. or build it, go and get 3D CAD done for it and 3D print it. But if you can build it out of wood first before you 3D print it, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache and design time, right? Because you're going to look at, like, first, if you can build it out of paper and tape and go, okay, that needs to be this deep and this needs to be this wide and this needs to be this high. And okay, the music's going to come out from over here. And, you know, visualize whatever it is as much as possible, then go into the design phase, then go learn about your manufacturing process. So if I decide that this thing is going to be made out of plastic, well, how is this plastic thing made? Go learn how plastic things are made. If you're going to make a new toothbrush, go learn how toothbrushes are made. You can literally search any of this stuff on YouTube and it's all out there. Learn about it, because when you reach out to that manufacturer and you go, all right, and I have another hack for you, but anyway, another hack I have for you is I want you to find, before you start giving your designs to manufacturers, source what we call a decoy product. So go look, and if I'm going to make a product like this with lights in it, right? This water, for those of you who are listening right now and not watching, this water bottle, and I'm going to put lights in it, right? Well, then I want to go and find a manufacturer of water bottles. And I'm just going to go talk to them and say, okay, you know, have you ever, how can I differentiate this? You know, I'm interested in this material. What different materials can I use? And, you know, can I introduce some electric components? You know, that's okay. We're not giving away our idea. We're not telling them, or you can tell them that, you know, you just want to put lights in the straw. You want to light up straw just for fun. It's for kids, right? Whatever. Like, just to see, like, are you dealing with a trading company and they can't even have a conversation with you about manufacturing? It's a great way to vet your suppliers. Number two, could they even meet your price for a regular product that's already in their stock, right? Are they a good partner for you? Have a conversation with them, talk to them, get to know them. It's really a great exercise. And then when you find out, yes, they are a good partner. Yes, they do want to work with you on price. Yes, they are good at differentiating. Then sign some contracts and then send your designs, right? But that's the whole idea. Really be able to visualize your product, get it as far as possible through the design process on your own before paying a professional designer. Then go and have a real conversation with a real manufacturer, not a pen pal relationship on Alibaba, because you're probably talking to a third party and not a manufacturer at all. Get on WeChat, have a conversation, be professional, be the person that you'd want to be if you were, you know, the client, right, for that manufacturer, and just develop that relationship, because it is all about that partnership when you're in manufacturing. And you're going to find that your whole experience changes. And at first you're going to be super nervous, but you're going to get better at it over time. Practice makes perfect. And yeah, just don't be afraid to develop those skills. Because when you first started at your job, you were probably terrible, right? And you were probably wondering, how in the heck am I ever going to learn this stuff? But you did. And it's the same way when you get into manufacturing. You know, I didn't think I would ever learn this stuff, but I did. And now I quite enjoy it.
You know, one last thing before we wrap things up. One of the most interesting things that I think you said, and in a certain sense you said this about every step of the process, is you have to look at something and you have to understand every step within that process. That there shouldn't be a single thing that you don't know about what you're doing. That if I'm, for example, if I have a phone in front of me, if I have a phone, so I have to know every compartment in the phone and how it works, what its tools are, who manufactures it, where does this piece A come from, where does piece B, and to kind of compartmentalize everything that's going on. And I think that's a very important attribute just throughout business, not necessarily for Amazon for private label, but that anybody who's seriously taking whatever business they're in, they shouldn't just know what they're currently doing. They need to know to at least improve, to get better, to you know, to go beyond. You know, they really need to know everything in between. You know, I have a partner who works with me in my business. You know, we call him Ari, mostly because that's his name. And And one of the first conversations I had when I brought him in, I was doing this before, and I brought him in as a partner. One of the first conversations I had with him is that, you know, if you're going to, if we're going to take care of, our Amazon, that which was primarily what we were doing in the beginning, only Amazon, there is nothing on this website you should have a single question about. And then where our products come from. You should know every step of the way. You should be able to look at product this and say, I make this amount of it. I know this amount of it. I know if I have a problem, I have to go here. If it's an Amazon problem, I go here and here. If it's a manufacturer problem, go here and here. If it's a return problem, you go in here and here. And every step of the way and everything he does, I said, you got to know from A to Z what exactly. And I think that's something that you've been conveyed over and over that is that is really very important.
And I think there's nothing wrong with outsourcing, right? In fact,
Yeah.
I think in order for you to really, you get to some point where you really have to build a team and you have to outsource. And, I'm not asking you to become an electrical engineer, but you should know something about the components of your product if you are working with electronics, right? I'm not asking you to engineer that electronic piece, but you should know, okay, oh, got it. You should ask questions. You should be curious. Like, you should genuinely want to understand it, at least at a high level, so that you can make informed decisions, right? And yeah, I would agree. You need to at least know where it's located, right? Like, you shouldn't know, you shouldn't not be able to give a presentation at any time. Like, that was always what I told my husband's my partner in my private label, and I'm pointing because his office is right outside the door right here. And it's the thing is, he's not the sales guy, he's not the manager guy, he's more, he enjoys like the day-to-day. He's an executor, right? He likes to go to work, but he doesn't really like to do the planning pieces or the management pieces. And I told him early on in our business, I was like, you should be able to, anybody who walks in here right now, you should be able to give them a full rundown of what we're working on. What products are we sourcing? What are we doing? What's our bottom line? What are our profits this month? What were our profits last month? All of that we should know. Like, we should have a pulse on, because that's our day to day, and we're the business owners, right? We're not working for the business anymore. We're not responsible for one thing. Now, we might hire someone to oversee that, because after a while, it's too much for us to keep on our plate. But yeah, I completely agree. You should know.
I'll say one more thing. When I was first building this podcast and my website, so I originally had a partner in this endeavor, and we were getting someone to do some fixes and to do some fancy things on the website, and we spent too much money getting it done, and the person messed us up. And my friend told me at the time something very profound, which I'll never forget how he said. He says, "In everything you do, you have to know just enough not to get screwed."
Yeah.
And I thought, right, if I knew just a little bit about website design, which fortunately I've built up the skills now, I would know enough to have had the right conversation in the beginning to really have gotten everything up. So with that, thank you so much for joining me. I really learned a lot about literally the entire process, and thank you very much. And for all the listeners out there, make sure to check out our website, amazingathome.com. There's really a lot of great free tools, and the blog is fantastic. So definitely take a look.
Thank you.